Decision Diaries.
Welcome to Decision Diaries. Today on Decision Diaries, we are going to talk about the decision to go camping, but I want to say it's special camping when you camp and make the decision to camp in a escape van. Now, if you are not familiar with what an escape van is, we are about to explain the difference between just a regular old RV or a regular old camper van and a brand called Escapevan. So I have with me the person who introduced me to this and who I think is by far the coolest person. So I knew once she introduced me to escape vans, it just immediately I knew it had to be cool because she's been cool since the 5th grade. That's how long I've known her. Undine McAvoy, welcome to Decision Diaries.
Thank you, Lynn. It's great to see you.
So we ran into each other right when I was planning my super duper California trip. And we ran into each other at like a bouncy place, Velocity or something like that. Like we were just, our kids were bouncing on trampolines and we had like time to catch up.
Very likely. If they were bouncing, then we were happy and probably just letting that be.
Yeah. We were like, adults are talking. Adults are having a conversation. And so somewhere along the lines, I told you I was doing this big California trip. And you were like, have you heard of escape vans? So why don't you give a description of it and I'll add to it.
Well, I think they are the coolest camping device around. We had a giant Ford camper van. And like you said, it's not your regular camper van. They are all graffiti, hand painted by different artists all over, I guess, the country. And they have everything you could need to camp. You can put your kids on the roof, little pets, or yourself if you're so inclined. It has everything you need for your trip. So when I was a kid, we'd haul all that gear with my parents in that plane and we'd box it up and take it to Colorado. But with this, you don't have to do any of that. You show up with your backpack of clothes and you're ready to go. Yeah.
I mean, really, we're going to start describing the type of graffiti that you see on these vans, but let's just talk about everything that's involved in these vans. So imagine a commercial size vehicle. And then imagine that there are 2, what I'd like to call love seats in the commercial van vehicle. And then you fold those down and you make an internal bed inside of sort of those inners. And they have some neat little contraptions where you make a table and then obviously storage folds right in that. And then in the back of the van, like if you were just to open up a commercial van in the very back, there is kind of a little kitchen. You've got a little refrigerator, you have like a little mini sink, and then they usually have all nice and packed in. I tell you, I really like how organized it is. That just appeals to my like OCD side that there's a little stove that sort of folds in nicely above the refrigerator, and they do come with some utensils and everything like that, but it's all just kind of packed together. And what really makes it nice from a camping perspective is that you become kind of like a hermit crab. You take your house with you, right? And you're able to go, instead of like parking your humongous RV or towing something behind your car, you're like this cool little hermit crab.
Yep.
Now you're super cool because just like a hermit crab, your outside shell is painted with crazy things. Oh my God. It is. I think that's probably where they got their inspiration. So. Yeah, like little hermit crab shells. Did you ever have hermit crabs?
No, but I know exactly.
You know what I'm talking about?
My cousin did catch them in the bathtub.
Yeah. You paint them all different colors. All their shells are different. And so because you're so super cool, I took your advice and I was like, oh, what is this escape van thing? And I looked it up, and let me just tell you, the first one that came up when I Googled it to decide whether to book it and everything was they had painted one of the vans as the Mystery Machine, Scooby-Doo. And oh my God. And I was like, oh, I so hope I get that one because I wanted to be Velma and I wanted like my older son to be like Scraggy and Scooby Doo. I would have totally bought I would have bought costumes if I would have gotten that one. So just imagine that you're going to pick up your camper van and it is painted like the Scooby Doo mobile, the mystery machine. Yeah. So what was your first? Did you rent multiple?
Yeah,
me too. Two
we've
times.
done 2 trips. The first one was we had a giant bear. It was called Bear. I don't know. It had a huge grizzly eating a trout on the side of the van.
Well, that's going to scare the bears away. Well, I mean, did it scare the bears away, or were you thinking the bears were going to come and try to mate with your van?
I think it must have scared them away. I didn't have any run-ins.
Okay.
I don't even remember what the second one was. And as I've discovered in our conversations, I'm really bad at digital housekeeping, so I don't know where these pictures are. The evidence is missing currently.
Now, how old were your children when you picked up the first one?
The first one,
the bear van,
was they were 15, 13, and 10, maybe. It was 2015, I think.
Oh, okay. So then I must have run into you right around that time because our first van. Oh, you're gonna love this. Okay. It was 2016. What happened in 2016, everybody? Election year. Okay. And we were picking up the Escape van in San Francisco. So we had like super, super high expectations. We're like, we're picking up the van in San Francisco. It could be anything. It could be Haight-Ashbury. It could be like, oh, I'm ready for 70s. I'm ready for anything. We pick it up. I'm going to show you a picture just so you can describe to people. It was George Washington crossing the Delaware.
Oh, God.
I don't know. And it had.
I don't think that should be.
And it had
some feedback.
And look, and it had an American flag on the front cover, and it had George Washington.
And you got this during the election year of 2016.
Of 2016, and let me tell you something. I feel like nobody wanted this van, so they gave it to our family.
Nobody wanted that van.
But and
what the hell?
I know. So I picked up this.
Did you give them some feedback when you got it?
No. See, okay, I want to give everybody advice. When you rent with the Escape Van company, I suggest that you just feel like the universe is going to give you the van you're supposed to have, and you're supposed to walk into it. Because when you see my next van, you're going to totally understand. So first van, we're in San Francisco. We're picking up George Washington crossing the Delaware, super flags all over it. 2016, hot election year. And I thought originally, okay, if there's any terrorists in California, they're going to attack us at a place, or we might wake up and people might be throwing things at our van. But that's not actually what happened at all. When we parked in our first place, we were taking our van down PCH. And for our international listeners, that's the Pacific Coast Highway that goes along beautiful side of California. And this is another thing about Escape Vans is that you can get to those little parks that you could not get to if you were driving like a larger RV. Yeah. So we were like at Kirk's Creek and a couple of those, and the Escape Van people will recommend sort of those off the beaten path where you're like right on the ocean, and you sometimes you can kind of feel like you're there by yourself, but a lot of them are little smaller communities of campgrounds.
Did you go south or north? What from?
We did San Francisco all the way to LA, all the way down. Okay. All the way down.
So we also rented in San Francisco our second time, but we went north.
Oh, okay.
Up to the Oregon coast and back.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well, we might do that one in the future. So so we've got George Washington crossing the Delaware. We park in our first place. And then the other thing too is you fold everything down. So my husband and I were on the inside. And as you mentioned, it was super nice. You put your kids on the roof. So much fun to put our 14-year-old, 14 and 11 boys were both up on the roof. And, California has I was picturing coyotes. Now I'm picturing terrorists. I'm picturing coyotes. I think it's worth saying we're not a camping family. I feel like your family is like a really good camping family.
I grew up camping, traveling when I was young.
Yeah, I remember
went
that.
camping in the summers, and then my kids. We've also been music festival people, so we started taking them to Swanee Spring and Magnolia Festival over in Live Oak when they were in diapers. So,
right.
Yeah, they are camping kids, so this was no big deal. It was like luxury going in the Escape Campervan.
Okay, so let me describe my family, which was the opposite of that. And my mom, and my dad.
Yes.
And my mom, my dad, they liked corporate hotels and mile points and free hotel rooms, from traveling. So I'm kind of a hotel person. My husband, his family were campers. But he was the last child in the family. And so he got sort of like the glamping, the luxury camping, that point when the parents are like, oh no, we're not going to like show our kids how to properly camp. Right. We're going to be pseudo camping. So neither one of us really quite have the camping skills. And so here we are in our George Washington crossing the Delaware. We're at our first site.
There's a van painted like that.
Yeah. I wonder if it's still out there. If you're out there and you're in that van right now, come out. I've got pictures too. So we wake up in the morning. The first thing I'm concerned about is, the coyotes jump on our camper van and eat my children in the middle of the night. I don't know why I thought that, or did like some terrorists or like somebody holding our children hostage because they hate America and our camper van is Americana. Nothing has happened, but when I peek, because you have these curtains you can close, when I peek my head out of the curtains, people are surrounding our van taking pictures. Did that happen to you? Like people taking pictures of your van?
Not surrounded. I think there were some curious people that would come and talk to us about it, but no, we did not get that.
This was, yeah.
That's
I mean,
special.
That was special. So then we move on to the next site. I think that was Monterey or whatever. And then we move on to the next campsite. And I told my husband, I'm like, I want to go to the dollar store and just buy a bunch of American flags and just throw them all around the campground. like, why not just go embrace it, Star Spangled Banner? Like, let's just unify the country with our George Washington. I'm all in. Mm-hmm. Nobody in my car wanted to do it. Okay, fine. Little. I know. Why are they my family? I mean, I can't believe it. What a missed opportunity. But we go. We go on to the next one. And when we go into the next one, what's also nice about Escapevan rentals, and I mean, this is like a huge commercial for them, but I'll just tell you, it's important to know is that it's easy to find your community. So when we pulled into another campground, there was another Escapevan. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of like, because each one of them is unique, yet it's artistic, and you recognize another hermit crab.
Yeah.
And you want to party with them because you know that they have a sense of humor. Yeah. I think that's what it's saying.
We definitely ran into other escape vans while we were traveling. And it was like seeing a friend.
It was.
What do you have yours? We saw the coolest one that we saw was called Cathedral, and had been painted like a stained glass window.
Oh my God.
So it was amazing.
That's what I was hoping for.
Yeah, exactly. The people in it. You meet such interesting people. I think what I recall is it was like a couple from Australia. And of course, when Australians get out of Australia, they like go all in. They travel for months and months. So this couple had been in Cathedral for, I don't know, 6 weeks or something, all around the country.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And they had the perfect van for that. I wonder what their experience would have been like.
I wish they would have had my van. I wish
they wouldn't have got it.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I really would. I would like to have somebody from Escapevans on to tell me how they figure it out. Whether this was just the car that just came up for us, or was this the car, that they selected because they were like, oh, get a load of this family, we're going to just put this family in there. But I was hoping that I was going to get something sort of geometrical. I don't know why, but when I looked online at them, I really loved all of those sort of geometrical or like kind of modern pieces that I saw out there. I didn't really see anything that was so themey as my American van.
I've never seen
Oh yeah. Oh,
that.
so it gets worse, Undine.
Oh, no.
It gets worse. So we have again, I'm mentioning, we're not the best of campers. So, we only know how to cook a couple things over a fire, and we've got a little stove. We're doing some spaghetti. We did pick up in San Francisco. We went to an old, the Italian side of San Francisco and picked up some like great prosciutto. So we were making a lot of like prosciutto and cheese grilled sandwiches. And I thought we were doing awesome because wow, like we've passed hot dogs. We're doing pretty awesome. So we get to one of the campsites, and there are no escape vans in this campsite because this campsite was for professional campers. Like it was like people who, really, the mom is the super organizer. She's got the bins. Okay. Whenever you see somebody in a campground that has like the plastic bins and they're labeled and you almost see somebody with a clipboard, this is a professional camper. So we park George Washington next to professional camper. And of course they have like their camper has just like expanded out, and she's got great chairs. Oh, by the way, chairs do kind of come with it. I remember chairs were in there, or you can
like those folding,
you can like request chairs. You can even request there's a couple of add-ons you can request, but we did request the chairs. So we had chairs, but she had chairs, really nice chairs and like mosquito nets and everything that you needed for professional camping. And I was like, okay, I hope she doesn't judge me. Maybe she's going to be judgy, maybe she's not going to be judgy. So I drink a couple of beers, she drinks a couple of beers, we strike up a conversation because our kids are about the same age, so they're starting to just play together. Kids don't know parents are going through an awkward, is this somebody I want to talk to or not talk to stage. Kids just go, right? And as long as they're away from us and we're drinking, we don't really care, right? We're watching them, so they're not like running off with strangers. But anyways, they're 14 and 11, so we're not concerned, right? They're fine. So I'm talking to this woman, really starting to love her, right? I mean, she's educating me on everything I'm doing wrong with camping, but she's educating me, but she's not doing it in like a judgy way. And the more her and I are drinking, we're just like bonding. I'm feeling like she is going to be a friend for life. And then a pizza delivery guy goes, delivery guy drives up, and she says, who the hell in this campground ordered a pizza? Delivery guy comes straight to me because we told him to deliver the pizza to the George Washington camper van. And we told him, you're going to find us because we're the George Washington camper van. And so immediately she hates me. And then it just gets even worse because the smell of this pizza, which by the way, cost us like $50 because we got it ordered from God knows when, because we are on PCH. So we got it ordered from like, I don't even know where I saw the flyer. From San Francisco. So she got judgy, and then the pizza smell is just going throughout the campsite. So the kids run in, her kids and my kids, and her kids are so excited about this pizza. She has made a meal fit for a king. She has got all the plastic bins. She's been soaking her chicken all day long. And then here is the person in the obnoxious van with the pizza. Best pizza I ever had. And I mean, I feel like her and I were that close to bonding where we were just about to like exchange phone numbers and be like, oh, what's the next campsite? but she turned her back on me and I didn't see her for like the rest of the night. Like she was just pissed. She's pissed.
Let me tell you, ordering pizza at a campsite, that's clutch. I've done that. That's great.
Yeah.
She has issues. No,
she's out there. She's out there.
Especially if you're traveling with friends and you got a bunch of kids.
Yeah.
Hell, who wants to cook macaroni and hot dogs for all? I mean, you can.
Yeah.
Take the fancy meal, but if there's good pizza.
I think we were on. We were on.
I
would say we were on day 3, I think, of being in the van, and so I feel like we were doing okay at breakfast. We were doing okay at lunch, and then finally, I think somebody just handed me a flyer at just the right time, where I was like, screw this, man, I'm having pizza, and I didn't know I was going to get in a big conversation with Mrs. Camper Worldwide. So we did not stay at that campground very long, which is good because now all of a sudden I have a neighbor that doesn't like me. So we move on. Okay. So even better, like I said, your car is a house on wheels, and you move your car, and we are going down PCH. And, I did my research in advance, and I was going to hit every single tourist attraction, everything all the way down. So guess where we went next?
Tell me.
My dad's a golfer.
Yes.
We went to the Pebble Beach Country Club.
So beautiful.
With George Washington. So I've been judged by a camper person.
Actually into the
club. We parked.
I pulled to the side of the road and observed Pebble Beach from afar.
No.
You pulled it in. Okay.
I was on a mission to, my dad's a golfer and he's been to Pebble Beach. So I was on a mission to get my dad, a nice polo shirt.
Nice.
So we had to park the van in front of the country club. And then we had to go into the country club because, my husband wanted to see it too. I think he wanted a shirt. And we go in and we see I keep meeting these women on my way, but we see an exact duplicate family of ours, but almost like in a different universe. They are clean.
They don't smell like campfire.
They don't smell like campfire. They're not wrinkled. Everybody looks like vineyard vines. They're putting, and her hair looks great. It's not frizzy. She's not wearing it in a ponytail. And here we walk in, and like I said, I feel like it's a multi-universe because it's like, yes, we're both in California. Yes, we are both at the Pebble Beach Country Club.
But we are in two different places.
I have a feeling when you go out to the parking lot that you are getting into a Mercedes SUV, and and that is the car that is parked next to our car.
Washington.
The Washington. So she looked over at us like, you don't belong here. I acknowledged, yeah, you're right, we don't belong here. We went to the gift shop. I was like, boys, do you guys want to putt? You guys want to do anything? They're like, no, get us out of here. Like, why in the world did we even drive here? It was a pretty drive though.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you have to go. So,
absolutely.
You wind your way down and you have to go. And then the last place, we did do Pismo Beach, which I recommend. Some people go down PCH and then they don't do all the touristy things. But in Pismo Beach is kind of the only part of California that you can go sand duning. Because they've really, they've restricted the sand duning now through a large part of California.
I remember sand duning in Hannah Park.
Yeah. Regency. Remember when Regency, we took 3-wheelers and so California is kind of, Pismo Beach is really kind of has a Daytona Beach vibe to it. But, we parked our car there and everybody just loved our car. I mean, at that point we were getting like paparazzi at that point. We're really kind of leaning into it, and we're sort of day 4 or 5. Well, they're my children. So if they get embarrassed, they're in the wrong family. I mean, I think I have since embarrassed them enough times in their life that they've learned how
They
to
embrace.
just kind of deal with it. Like there is no like putting up a front in my family. Like if you try to put up a front, like even during the teen years when I'd wake up my son and you think to yourself, what happened to my son overnight? Because you wake them up and they're like, oh, right. You couldn't even do that because I would smother you in kisses or whatever. So my boys were starting to embrace it. They were, we were singing American songs. We were putting on like American things. We were like, oh, we should have dressed up like historical figures. I mean, really kind of by day 4, we're all in. And I think we only rented it for 5 days, but the last place we rented, and here's another thing with camping. And let me ask you this. It's great that you're a hermit crab and so that you have so many opportunities of so many campgrounds, but you can never tell if your campground is one that you're going to get, assaulted. Like there are campgrounds that are like in sketchy areas and no one says like, hey, this campground used to be awesome. And then like, I don't know, something happened or the person who's supposed to keep the campground up is maybe not totally sane. So we pull into a campground and the person, there's always a person in the campground that's the, what do they call them? The
campground host, maybe?
Campground host. Yeah. Ranger.
I mean,
And up to this point, some have rangers, some don't. And so up to this point, all the rangers that we've met, they're nice people. They're people that actually live there, right?
Right.
In their own camper. And then
usually they have either a house or their camper.
Yeah.
And they're permanent. And then you have the hosts that will come and go seasonally. They're there for a few months or whatever.
Yeah.
That's my dream job.
I could see you doing that.
Yeah, I'd really like to.
Yeah, we thought about it ourselves.
But I think one of the requirements is you have to clean like the toilets and the bathrooms.
Oh,
the
yeah.
facilities, and I'm like, I'm not sure if I want to do that part of it.
Well, you don't want to be at Kirk's Creek. That was just like a hole. There was nothing.
Toilet.
Yeah, that was, yeah. Is that what that's called?
Yeah, usually a hole in the ground.
Yeah. We did a little bit of the hole we did the hole in the ground. That was right before Pebble Beach. So it was nice, but this host, we pulled up this playground, I say campground. And, it was on the ocean and that's why I picked it. But when the host comes to our car, I mean, that bitch be crazy. She was nuts. She had I don't know, 3 or 4 teeth. I don't know if I counted all of them, but she came and at first I thought, oh, she's colorful. But then I swear, I thought after a while, I was like, I think she's slightly insane. I mean, this could be sort of, I don't want to call, it seems like a Stephen King episode, like the family on their 5th day with their George Washington van suddenly get like in some weird scenario in a campground. And when we looked around, there were a lot of sketchy people camping around us. Like, I'm not quite sure if this was like a meetup place. It was really weird. And
was it a private campground? Was it a state?
I honestly, I can't even remember how I ended up picking it out. I think I had so much of the California trip to plan that I think when I finally got to that one, I was like, well, it's a good spot to stop on the next way because we were going to drop the car off in Los Angeles. So she's crazy. And my husband's like, I think we should call it. I think we should drive to a hotel. And I'm like, no, we paid for this van. We're going to have the last night in the van and, let that be the end of our adventure. And we're just going to laugh about this afterwards, which of course we are, but we were sitting there with our little chairs out in front, keeping a very close eye on our children and anything else that was like kind of going down at the campground. And all of a sudden we saw a mother and a daughter pull up in an adorable, like little VW bus. I love VW buses. Oh, I'd live in a VW. I love VW buses. So they pull up in this like refurbished, really nice refurbished. Nice. They probably had gone to the same website I had and was like, oh, it's by the water. It's perfect right before LA. And they pulled in and they went, nope. And we watched them pull out. Wow. So we actually watched people come in and
make a decision not
and
to
make a
stay.
decision not to stay.
I've never stayed in a place like that.
Well, let me tell you, I mean, when we woke up the next day, we had our stuff. We wanted to be the first people to wake up. We
Mhm.
didn't really use the bathrooms too much, and we just hauled butt out of there and
Wow.
just, called it part of the experience.
Hmm.
And that truly is part of the experience. I mean, you
Yeah.
meet you sometimes meet the same people along the way when they're on the same drive as you. So we did come across when we knew that we were at good campgrounds when we would see like this certain group of bicyclists.
Oh,
And
yeah.
that's insane to bicycle down PCH. Like, I'm amazed. I mean, there's so many other RVs that are super big that I don't know how
Scary.
those bicycle people stay on that edge. But anyways, once, we were like 2 or 3 campgrounds we were kind of tracking with the bicycle people, and then all of a sudden I guess we went completely off the grid. Yeah, we made a wrong turn. Now let's talk about our second one. You don't remember your second one. All right, let me show you a picture of my second one.
That's perfect. Wait,
It's
is it
Pac-Man.
Pac-Man?
It's
I
Pac-Man.
was going to say, is it?
It's kind of,
they made it like 3D.
yeah,
That's
it's like
awesome.
it's like a Pac-Man.
That's my favorite game, by the way. Well,
Oh,
this is
yeah.
Pac-Man.
Yeah, there's the Pac-Man, and see the door has kind of
Oh
like
my
a
God,
smiley
that's
Pac-Man.
hilarious.
So
That's a good one.
the Pac-Man van we did in Utah, and we decided.
That's our first. So we flipped our trips.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Okay.
I went to Utah to Vegas first.
Okay, we did that.
And traveled through Utah, and then the San Francisco was the second one for us.
Oh, okay. So then when you did Utah, you flew into Vegas,
Yeah.
and then did you go which way did you circle? Did you go Mount Zion and circle that way?
We went to Zion, and then down to the Grand Canyon, down to and then into Arizona to there's this called Sliding Rock State Park.
Yeah,
in Arizona.
Yeah.
And I was like, and your kids can like slide down
I seen that.
red
Yeah.
sandstone. And
Yeah.
it was awesome. I was like, we're going there just because of that. So yeah, we just did that loop.
Okay. So I think I need to follow your travel plans because for some reason, well, I mean, okay. I mean, I think my travel plans are good because I go places that like random people don't do. So we did the circle the opposite way, which let me tell our listeners that when you're doing the Utah 5, I think that's what it's called.
Don't know.
In Mount Zion, Bryce, Arches, Canyonlands, Grand Canyon. Okay, here's the thought. Don't have the Grand Canyon be the last park. Because by the time we got there, my kids were so over it.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, more Red Rock, like we're done. And then the other part of it is, the other part of it is that because we kind of went the opposite way where we went, Zion, Bryce, and then Arches, we were into Moab, and then we were starting to head to Lake Powell. Thank God our escape van did not break down. Thank God we actually doubled up on our miles because I don't think that we really anticipated how much driving we would do from like the Canyonlands to just complete that circle because we went out to Lake Powell, and we were out at Lake Powell. We were on, I think it's Lake Powell, right? That's Lake Powell. Yeah. We were on the wrong side. Where all like the cool party boats are.
Yeah.
Now imagine the other side. So if you do the Utah 5, I suggest you do, Grand Canyon and go the way that you went because you're on the party side of things. Yeah. We were on like, if it was a house, we would have been in the laundry room while the party was going on, like way over there. So like we could hear the party like echoing on the lake. But we could, and nothing is more FOMO than me hearing a party, knowing there's party boats that I cannot get on. And I can totally see that. Yeah, and I'm on the complete opposite side. I mean, so much so that the little ranger. Okay, so there was this little park that we ended up at the top overlooking the lake. And at this point, I love Utah, but I'm from Florida and I like blues and greens and reds.
Yeah, you can't.
After a while in
It's
Utah,
it's a
you're
lot.
like red, 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 red. So when we saw Lake Powell, we're like blue, blue. This is awesome. And so we pulled into the park and we were like, I had reserved a spot. It's some horrible spot in this campground, but there was only like one other person there. And the little park ranger person was like, I said, is this park? And he kind of looked at me again, these park rangers, like, I hope you know where you are, right? Like, I mean, how many people have asked you this question? Like, really, don't you? I felt like he should have answered quickly,
Yeah.
but he somehow had to think it over. Like when I said, I'm here to park in like this, my spot had a name. And he said, yeah, I think we have one of those. What do you mean you think so? Like, there's nobody here. Like, what do you do all day? Memorize the spots. But anyway, so we go to our crappy spot that has no view of the lake. And we're looking around and we're like, there's nobody here. So we ended up moving to like a nice spot, nice enough where we could kind of view the lake and, hear that there was a party going on that we weren't invited to. So, yeah. So the next day we kind of got up early and that was sort of our Utah Pac-Man. And at this point, the kids have lived through George Washington and Pac-Man was really a crowd pleaser among families. So we were finding so many families, like we would park and we'd go into like Mount Zion and we would find all that. Now we had so much fun in the George Washington van. And the kids talked about it for years that we decided to extend our trip the second time when we rented the second time. And here's some advice. Know your family's tolerance for camping, okay? Because all of a sudden we were on day 9. I think the first time we did 5 to 7, I want to say, and this time we were on day 9, and all of a sudden it was a coup. I feel like when I pay for something, I'm gonna stick it out. Yeah. That means when I pay for Jaguar tickets, I'm gonna stay to the end of the game. I don't even care if we're losing. I'm gonna get my full money's worth, but all of a sudden, my family just turned on me and voted 3 to 1. I was kicked off the island, and we drove to a Hampton Inn. They wanted TV, they wanted a shower, they wanted to watch the World Cup, and they were like, "We're calling it, Mom. We're calling it."
7-day might be a good limit.
Yeah.
Probably
yeah.
Not much more.
Yeah. You got to know. And I felt like that. I felt like the second time around, I had the plastic bins. I was ready to go, but
ready.
I was ready.
Our
but
second time around, I felt like we were more prepared too, because by that time, I think my son was 17 and it was already a tight with 5 of us, 3 kids on the roof or 2 on the roof and 1 in between us. And
you had 1 in between you?
Yeah.
Okay.
And sometimes I slept on the roof, depending on who they wanted to sleep. It was just, we were mixing it up every night. But we took a tent, a little solo tent for the second time, and we just made our son sleep in that by himself.
Oh, okay.
So we had the roof and him in a tent and us in the van.
All right.
And that worked out great.
Now, I'm unfiltered, so I'm going to share. Okay, when we were in a nicer park, not the psycho park and not the whatever one, when we were in a nice one that had like nice facilities where the kids got like a really good shower, and at this point we had gone to several places and picked up a lot of wine. I also like to get my money's worth on, I'm going to get some something, you know what I'm saying? So the boys were on top.
Oh.
Let me tell you something. That van can rock. I'm sure that van can rock. So my husband was really upset. My husband was like, "No, we are not doing this." And I'm like, "Oh, we're doing this."
You need to just have a tent.
I'm I think no, that's hard on the ground. That would have been hard. I don't know, but you mean out with the wolves that I was imagining?
You're covered. I think that's. I have to admit that I think the second time around when there was the tent option, that's the option we. Oh, that's the option you guys went for? Oh no, I sprung it. I had too much wine. I sprung it on my husband, and I was on a mission. I was like, this is part of the experience. I'm gonna have sex in this George Washington van, and the boys are up on the top, and like, what's the harm? And then the following morning, they were like, what was going on? I would say that they knew what was going on, and they just wanted to do what you would say.
And you know what? I owned it. I was like, yeah, your parents are getting along. I mean, camping's going to be hard if we don't do this occasionally, you know, but oh, my husband was so horrified. I mean, we had to practically tape all those curtains together. And I'm like, there's nobody around. And we did have bushes on it. You know, like I said, it was a fancy smancy one. So we had like bushes around us. And I mean, it was late at night. I mean, come on, people. It's our car. If you're looking into our car and, you know, and you're seeing it rocking a little bit, don't look in campers.
I don't think people do that. It's just funny that the kids were on the roof. I thought twice about the curtains or anything like that. That's fine.
Well, the ladder fell off.
Those
ladders never. I'm sorry, escape vans. They had to work on those ladders. The ladders were really hard. I was always worried about the ladders. So yes, you can, and people have had sex in these little vans. You can get it done. You can get your money's worth. And you know, I did in the Pac-Man van too. I'm not gonna tell you if I'm renting a van or I'm renting a hotel. I mean, that's, you know, it's happening. I mean, I'm getting my money's worth. So after we rented the second time and you know, they had the coup on me. The following year for vacation, we ended up going on a cruise. Luxury. Yeah. Yes. My husband didn't want to drive. No. And the kids were like, okay, we want instant entertainment. We don't want to do anything like that. But, you know, I think we also need to talk about what's really kind of cool. And maybe this is just cool overall, you know, because you're the queen of cool. But when you go to pick up your van, you get to do some free shopping.
That's so great.
And that is so great. Yeah. Let's talk about that.
What is that bin called? So they have a bin that's there from previous campers have come back. They have leftover ketchup. They have maps of the state that they didn't need anymore, and they leave it behind. And walking sticks, all sorts of
salt and pepper. Yeah,
lots of good kitchen essentials. Extra coolers, because you know that little refrigerator, as you said, it's not big. So
so you get a little styrofoam one.
Yeah, cooler is kind of a nice thing to have in the Escape.
Yeah. I would say that before you go and buy all of your things that you need, because you're definitely going to feel like you need salt and pepper. I mean, you know, you're going to want to put some salt. That sometimes that was in the drawer. I think the second time there were some seasonings that were left behind, but most of the time, you know, everything's pretty clean. So the first thing you want to do is, you know, go there and see if you can take advantage of that community-free grocery shopping. Yeah. And there were some things that I was like, you know, we were so new to camping that I was like, I didn't even think about that. Mm-hmm. I forget what it was, but it was like, there was like a can of black beans that I was like, oh, and then like some things of rice. I'm like, oh, why was I only thinking pasta and hot dogs, you know? And so it, a good staple. Yeah. And so it kind of opened up my eyes to like, oh, okay, well, let's do that. And then there were books. Yeah. And, you know, I think, 2016, you know, the kids had phones, but what I loved was a lot of places we stayed did not have Wi-Fi. And I hope that they're not still like that. But with all this remote work we're doing now, it's becoming really interesting that the campgrounds, you know, are kind of upping their Wi-Fi. And now there's things that people can have with them out camping where, you know, they can work remotely while they're camping. So there's this whole group of nomads now traveling through all the camps. And I hope that some of those nomads are trying to work remotely where my crazy lady was. Because they need to watch their laptop and they need to look over their shoulder because they're like at the Stephen King campground. I mean, we made it out alive, and you know, there were a couple of drives. You ever seen on a map where it says like scenic road? One time we were on a scenic road and I really did think we were in the Twilight Zone. I didn't feel like we were progressing. We had no Wi-Fi. We had no sense of like how much further we needed to go. And that was the longest scenic drive that made me really question whether, the map has been since taken away from me. I'm not the navigator, but you did need a paper map for that that
My
little
kids call me
scenic
old
drive.
fashioned because I still do like the paper maps. I like my Rand McNally that has every state in it, and I highlight my trips on
Yeah.
there.
Oh, neat.
And so my husband and I traveled, before we were married, so early 90s, and we traveled the whole country together in a Jeep.
In a Jeep.
And not like a Jeep, like a beach Jeep that you see with the ducks, not that kind of Jeep, but like a Jeep Cherokee.
Oh,
So
okay.
we stuffed all of our stuff in the back, and we lived out of our car for months and months and months. We traveled the whole country.
Oh my God.
It wasn't quite the Escape Campervan, but it served its purpose. It was great.
Oh my gosh. How in the world did you afford that? That's something that's interesting all in itself.
It's cheap when
it is cheap
when you don't need anything except
Yeah.
groceries and gas.
Yeah.
I mean, there must have been a little bit of money, but it wasn't luxury,
Well, did you guys ever end up in like a Walmart parking lot?
No, God, no.
Oh, well, you're really good. Oh, then you're really good, because I think that I would have probably ended up in a Walmart parking lot.
You mean
Okay.
to camp or to go shopping? I'm sure I went to Walmart to buy stuff.
Oh,
but
no,
not to
no.
sleep.
No, sometimes we went to one campground and, we kind of veered off, or we took a thing, and it was completely full. So we didn't have any place. And so I heard that as there's more nomads traveling around, that some people are finding that. And so they're, having to sleep in a Walmart parking lot or Target parking lot.
Out west, I don't know if you noticed this, but all the BLM, the Bureau of Land Management land, you can just camp. You don't have to have a lot of that out west. You can just pull off the road and camp just about anywhere.
Oh, okay. That you failed to mention that when you got me into this Escapevan. Okay. Like maybe we should repeat that again. Wait, say that.
The adult version. I don't know if I do that with my kids so much, because you really want to have a plan to know that you can give them a bath, not a bath, but get them sort of clean. But, you can camp for free on most Bureau of Land Management land and other open, wild government lands that are out west. You can just pull over and camp.
When you say out west, like, are we talking from Colorado and
like
Utah,
Colorado.
Nevada?
I've never been to the center of the country, like to the east of Colorado. All of my camping out west has been Colorado and west. So I don't really know.
Like Montana?
Like Montana, Wyoming.
Oh.
I've been up in North Dakota, South Dakota.
Okay.
So I guess I have been in the central, but very far north.
Well, I think that's our next target.
You can really pull. Oh my gosh,
that's our next target.
Anywhere. South Dakota is so beautiful.
Really? Okay.
It's gorgeous.
What time of year?
And I've never seen bigger mosquitoes than Wisconsin. Oh, it's the worst. They were absolutely horrible.
Oh, well, when I was in Alaska, they told me the mosquito was a state bird, and I was like, oh my God, no way. But let me tell you something. It is. The mosquito in Alaska is like a Jurassic mosquito, large thing, almost as big as your hand, but it is a dumb mosquito. It is not a highly efficient, intelligent Florida mosquito. It's like, I'm going to bite you. I mean, you have so much time to swat this monster. It's crazy. But when you watch some of those reality shows in Alaska, you see the small ones buzzing all around them. But in Anchorage, it was I want to call them the large, stupid mosquitoes. So, I was okay. But if Wisconsin's bad, I could tell you.
Bad. Okay. I remember that being like sleeping in the mosquito net, because it was just terrible. So we didn't have, I think that's the other thing is, I don't know if it was the time of year, like we did sort of like a June summer with our California trip, and about the same time, because again, the kids are out of school, so you kind of have to pick that window, which now being an empty nester is so nice. I don't have to pick that window, but you were stuck in that sort of school zone window, and so we never really had horrible weather. I mean, there was one time in in Utah where I thought to myself, I would put lotion on my hands and they would dry up, and I thought, if I lived in Utah, I would look like a prune. I would just have to constantly. We miss the humidity right away, don't
we? Yeah, we do. And so I had to make sure everybody was drinking enough water, but I could tell that I wasn't drinking enough water. I wasn't retaining enough water. So some
really
things to consider.
Surprised me when we were on that that loop of Utah, Arizona. We went to the North Rim of the Grand Canyon. I'd never been to the Grand Canyon before, so I'm like, well, we'll go to the North Rim. I don't know why I picked that one because it seemed like it was maybe less popular.
I think that's where we went. I'm sure.
It was rainy when we got there, and it was June because that's, like you said, kids are out of school. It's the time to go. It was freezing. I didn't realize the elevation there is so high. It's like 7,000 feet or something.
Oh.
Plus rain. The temperature was in the 30s in summer, and it was miserable. We were wet and cold, and I could not wait to keep moving because it was just, for a Florida girl, 30 degrees in June is not what she's looking for.
Yeah, well, you know, it's interesting that camping has to come with some discomfort.
Yeah.
And, you know, and then one time I don't know which one of my boys did it. I'm going to say it was my boys. I don't think it was me. I think they think it was me, but somebody left the camp door open and a raccoon got into our car. So, you know, and everybody, and everybody claimed it was me, but we got the raccoon out of our car. And then the other thing was there was a moment where I think everybody was worried that I was going to catch California on fire because there was a piece of paper that kind of like flew into the fire and then it flew up and it was still very sparkling, like, you know, like it was like a flame. And so I was really worried that I was going to catch California on fire. I was picturing the headlines, you know, family in George Washington van catches Pacific Coast Highway on fire. So glad that
baby reveal party, which was way worse.
Oh, yeah. That probably is way worse. That is way worse. All right. Well, I think, I don't know if we covered it. Did we cover everything that you get to experience? What would you say?
I think we covered. Well, I think one thing that is really good to know is these are so affordable. You can rent a car.
Oh, yeah.
The mileage you get, I know you said you added extra miles, but the reason we initially found the Campervan was because there was a Groupon of all things. And I was like, okay. And the mileage, I looked at the mileage you get a day. I'm like, hell yeah, that's super affordable. And you get all your camping gear and the hermit crab shell to boot.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
It's an easy sell.
It really,
fun.
When I think about it, it was, I never thought about the price of it. So it was in that reasonable area. And then you're saving on, having to drag around 2 cars. Mm-hmm. The other thing about it is, you know, some people are like, oh, you know, you should have just bought an RV in Florida and taken it across the country. But I was like, you know, one of the things I learned is that, well, I'm ADHD and so is my whole entire family. So we like to get to it. And, and so the idea of picking up a car that starts close to your destination of where you want to go and explore. So, you know, you pick up the car in Las Vegas and then you're able to do the big 5 parks as opposed to me driving my RV down boring I-10, down boring. By the time I got to Mount Zion, I would have been like, oh, just bring me back. So the idea of a pickup and a drop off that, you know, you see everything in between. You get, like you mentioned, you get good gas mileage. You can park in normal parking spots. You have everything you need. If you have kids, you know, they can lay down and sleep in the van, you know, with the seats up. And then, you know, it's a little transformer and you put everything back together. I will also say that when the coup happened to me and we went into the Hampton Inn, one of the things that I noticed is because you're living kind of like a hermit crab, you're actually living very efficiently. We would make sure that our shoes were kind of nicely tucked underneath everything because everything has a place. As soon as we got to the Hampton Inn, they flipped one shoe. I came out of the bathroom, almost tripped over one shoe. One kid had a shirt that was like on the other side. And we had to do they explored the space. They threw their stuff everywhere. And I feel like we left stuff behind. We had to like do a once and a twice through the hotel room because they were like just so disorganized. Like no, everybody was just throwing their stuff all over the place. So I think it kept us efficient. of course, we have great memories. Even the scared moments were good. I mean, not only that, there was fog on PCH. And so driving in the fog, thinking that you're going to just go ahead and fall off the cliff. I mean, you've got to be really super comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I think it made us stronger. We feel like we might be prepared for an apocalypse that lasts about 7 days. If the apocalypse lasts 7 days, we got it. Anything past it. There's gonna have pizza delivery. And then I'm going to take that if there's an apocalypse, I'm going to find that lady. I'm going to take all of her bins because I know she's going to have all the food because she's going to have everything. She's already planned for the apocalypse. So yeah, I'm going to find her. So I just want to thank you again. I think we've covered it. If we haven't covered it, I'm going to post some pictures of our vans so that you can understand just how fun these are. I do want to say that one of the things I did love that we probably didn't talk about is supporting artists. So, these artists having a canvas that we're taking their work and we're traveling around with their work of art, whatever it is.
They're signed by the artists.
Yeah.
They pick out the artists that they want to do.
It's a very neat concept.
Yeah.
And, there's no way easier if you're new to camping or even old to camping to find your tribe than to find somebody else with a painted van. I mean, it's always going to be sort of a conversation piece. I noticed that a lot of the people that we met were from Europe. You mentioned Australians. I think we met some New Zealanders. But, keep your mind open. Some people are like, oh, I don't want that attention at a campground. Well, I don't know. I mean, to me, I felt like it was a conversation piece. To me, I felt like it's something, you laugh about afterwards. And I don't necessarily recommend going to Pebble Beach. That was a fairly boring stop just to pick up an overpriced polo, but it did show me that there was a family doing something the complete opposite of us. And, kudos to them. If you like golf and you like being really super comfortable in air conditioning, then, Escapevan may not be for you. Right?
I think everybody should give it a try. I really do. It's so much fun. But I'm so glad that you did it.
Oh, no. I'm waiting for your, I'm still trying to figure out how as an empty nester I can live in a Jeep. So we are going to go have some drinks and we are going to go catch up because I've got to hear about this Jeep living. Oh, yeah. And you're in marketing. So you forgot to remind me what I'm supposed to say now.
Yeah, you have to carry this on. Like, who do you need to invite? You have things on your website to talk about, right?
Yeah, yes, I do. So I just came back from PodFest and found out that I'm doing this all wrong. I don't of course I did, right? I found out that, if you're one of those people that have clicked following me, that's super awesome, but there is no way for me to thank you for listening because Spotify and Apple Podcast and some of these streaming services don't let me know how to reach you. I can't reach you. So the recommendation that came out of PodFest was that I add a member sign up to my website so that if you're interested in receiving maybe some bonus material, I am thinking of some cool swag, which we'll talk about over some drinks because you're in marketing. You can give me some ideas. And, just interesting tips or maybe summaries of some of the tips of things that we've learned from different episodes, then go to my website, decisiondiaries.com. Go to the member sign up. You'll also see there's a couple of other signups you can do. You can be a guest. I mean, this wasn't painful, right, Undine?
No, it was fun. I enjoyed hearing you laugh again in person.
Right. So if you want to be a guest, because somebody made a decision today. We all made a decision to get up and pursue whatever it is we're pursuing, take on the day. So there's signups for that too. So I hope everybody enjoyed this. As we say in Decision Diaries, there are no regrets. There's no do-overs. I would not have a single regret about renting that van, maybe one day too long. Thank Thank you so much for listening.